Hi, everybody. Welcome to our staff spotlights. This is Kevin Breimer. Kevin is one of our RBTs. He is currently working in our grade 6-7 class. That cohort is called the Mellow Yellows. And right now it is a group of some pretty amazing boys that is in that class. So I just told Kevin I'm just going to ask him a couple of questions just so that we can get to know him a little bit better and see a little bit more of the people who make OBA what it is. So, Kevin.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So, can you just give us a little bit of a background of what led you to becoming an RBT and working at Oakbridge?
Absolutely. So it all kind of started, I'd say a few years after I was done high school. So I've kind of been in the field professionally for about, I'd say just over 10 years now. But before then, I grew up with a brother and a best friend who have disabilities. So my brother has been diagnosed with a almost like severe anxiety. The doctor kind of rated it from like a scale of 1 to 10. He's actually like a 13. And then my best friend has high functioning autism. So it's just that social skill aspect that he's still working on, or he's not able to maybe have as much as maybe other people. So what I essentially did was that I applied for this summer camp program, which my first intention was to just go for the younger kids because I have two younger brothers, so I figured that's the best place. But when I did my interview, they interviewed for almost all different sections, and the section that was just for special needs, they were like, that you have the experience, and I was like, oh, like it makes sense now, but I just didn't realize it in myself. So the camp was in Burlington, and when I started doing the program, I found out like regardless of what happened, we had good days, we had bad days, and I loved it. Like, you know, maybe I had a table thrown at me and I was like, I would go in the next day, I'd be like, hey, let's do it again. I'm excited. And so after the camp program, I was like, you know what, like I see myself naturally being in this, like it feels right. And so I applied for the EA program down in Niagara College. So I went there for about 2 years. And once I graduated, I found about the field of behavioral science and I was recommended George Brown in Toronto. So I did the ABA course there. I worked at community living there for a few years. And I just wanted to kind of try something different, try to move on and seeing if there was something that can kind of combine both that EA and that ABA experience. And then once I found about Oakbridge, I found like that was perfect fit. It has both of those that essentially like I feel I can use both of those to be able to the best of my abilities kind of thing.
So when you were hired at Oakbridge, you were actually the first full-time male staff that Oakbridge
Yes. Yeah.
had hired.
Yeah.
And so last year was your first year, the 2019-2020 school year
Yes.
was your first
Yeah.
year. And this year, well, I guess it was the end of the 2020 school year that Devin, who is one of our teachers, joined your classroom actually.
Yeah.
So you and Devin are now together in a classroom with
Yeah.
a couple other people, but generally in this field, there are a lot of women who work in this field. There aren't a lot of gentlemen that choose this line of work. However, most of our students at Oakbridge do have autism. And we know statistics that autism is a very male-dominated world. And
Yeah.
so we have a lot of male students. As I said before, your classroom is all boys. You have all
Yeah.
boys in your classroom. And how do you think that is beneficial for you working in a classroom with all boys and you're a male?
It's when you referred back to like, you know, it being a very female dominant field, it's like I've seen that from the get-go. So the second I said when I joined or I started in my EA program and in even my behavioral science program, it was just majority female from the get-go. but like the one thing that the feedback that I got from parents, like being from my summer camp program or just doing respite, is that the parents are really looking for like a buddy. And not saying that anyone here wouldn't be able to do the same things as me. It's just that there's a connection of the boys with me that that they can't really find anywhere else with maybe a female staff in here. And I didn't really think of that at first. And when they were starting to say that to me, I was like, that makes sense, because sometimes you just want guys to hang out, right? Like, and so I think it's really interesting to have, being in a very male or like a lot of boys in the class and in the school, and then having a lot of females that are actually working. So like coming into that environment, I don't think a lot of the boys were used to it either. And then they kind of like almost gravitated towards me because they were like, oh, this is a guy I can hang with now. And I think parents are very happy about that too. I think they have mentioned a few times that they're happy that there's, at least back when I first started, that there was a male starting. So it's definitely something that I'm grateful for being here, like that I can provide that, and having the kids feel better that, if you want to have like that guy time, like to be able just to like hang out, and being able just to, do that with them. Overall, like it's great that in just general, like what OBA is doing and like in what direction they want to head in, and that they believe in our skills as people. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. It feels like, as much as I feel like I got into the right field, that I also feel like Oak Ridge is that other part that like I feel is where I'm supposed to be. And it's great, like everything that Kathy has going on, like what she wants to do with this and where she wants to go. And it's like, I'm very excited to be part of it, because like her envision of it makes me excited that like I can develop my skills too, and that like this thing is like, it's something big, and it's going to create something massive in the future kind of thing.
This job can be very stressful some days. Mm-hmm. And some days I would imagine that it's hard to leave and not take things home with you, and worrying about students, or just thinking about, okay, how are we going to whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do when you get home and you just need to unwind and sort of take time to just take care of yourself, put all of the stress of the job behind? Mm-hmm. What do you do for fun? What do you do to sort of refocus and put things back into perspective?
That's a really good question, because I feel if you asked me that like even 3 years ago, before I came to OBA, I'd be like, I don't know. I just sit there and I try to like forget about it, and it's really hard. Like I do take these things with me. And so just, I would be all over the place. I wouldn't know what my self-care looks like. When I had joined OBA, and I experimented in some mindfulness stuff before, and I didn't really comprehend of like, oh, like why is this beneficial? Why should I be doing this? After starting to work here and teaching these kids mindfulness, I was actually teaching myself some things. And when I go home, like I remember the skills that I was trying to teach these kids all along, and taking that for myself. So it's like things like meditation and acceptance and like my values, and now that when I go home, I have like a concrete understanding. It's like, you know what, like I noticed I had a bad day, and I noticed I have lots of thoughts in my head about like, oh, this could be done, or like, this was a really hard day in this aspect, or this, I have lots of like frustration with where things are headed, like, and so like it's just clouding. And one of the things that I found that I like doing is that meditation part, is being able just to kind of like say, okay, brain, we're thinking a lot here, so let's just stop what we're doing, turn off the TV, put away my cell phone. Let's, be it lay on a couch or just sit on the ground and just be like, and just breathe, and being able to like, okay, like just focus on my breath. And I find that the thoughts tend to kind of calm themselves. They're still there, but like they're not as like, they're not jumping out at me. So a little mix between that, and like I do have some other hobbies that I draw. So usually like I can take that kind of to my paper. It's like, okay, like I had a really busy day, so let's just try to focus on one thing. And I think that's where like what like kind of like the point I'm trying to make is focusing on one thing. It's like instead of having, it's like being like this and like, oh, I got to clean, I got to do this. It's like, why don't we just do one thing, cut out all the other distractions, and just try to focus, because I think helps me. And I know it's not for everyone, but at least for me, it's like that's what kind of brings, like almost grounds me in a way, and be able to just say, you know what, like once I'm done with this, I can go into the next day looking forward to it. I've never woken up a day since I started 2 years ago where I'm like, oh, like I gotta go back into work, like things are so hard right now. It's like, no, like let's bring it. Like I have no, and I used to do other jobs, like other jobs I would find stressful, and this job I've never felt that. I've always felt like each day I'm coming in with just the same amount of energy as I did on the first day I started.
But thank you. I appreciate it so much. One of the things that I love most in this world is getting to be at Oakbridge and just to see the kids and see how well they're doing. And another thing that's great for me is watching how the staff interact with the students and help them with things. And it has been great just watching you with these kiddos, and they're pretty amazing. And so thank you for what you do at Oakbridge, for being a part of this family, and for dealing with all of the women that work there as well. They're pretty great.
Day by day.
Awesome.
And thank you for having me.